Hey everyone, welcome to the show. My name's Tom Springer. If you are watching the broadcast right now, I am the man that built stuff I never learned from a school book. It is 7 o'clock Monday Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 out in Hawaii, 6 a.m., 5 or 6 a.m. tomorrow morning out in Indonesia, and about 9 a.m. out in Australia. Sorry, I'm kind of scatterbrained right now. My guest hasn't shown, so not sure what I'm going to do for the show tonight. This will be interesting since I have a no show right now. Mm, We did discuss the fact that my show was on like normal, like I do with every person, but this one so far hasn't shown up and hasn't answered messages. So, hey Rosie, how you doing? Glad to see you. Like I said, I'm kind of here by myself right now. My guest hasn't shown up. I'm actually traveling, so I'm wearing headphones right now. Hopefully, y'all can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Hopefully, you can because this is a new setup for me. I didn't travel with all my stuff. Um, but like I said, we're just going to kind of hang out tonight, I guess, and see if he pops in. I may just rattle off some things that I've been thinking of lately. Um, for those who don't know, I have been contemplating a. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. I have been contemplating doing um, a podcast. So, hi, Kathy. How are you? And it would be a recorded podcast, of course. So I would just post out later on, and it's something that 5-10 minute little blurbs that I'd be doing, and it would just kind of be um, knowledge, thought processes, whatever else that I'm kind of going through, and going through all this information. Remember, I'm still kind of getting my feet underneath me when it comes to everything that is happening to me right now. It is only been almost 2 years. I can't really say that I'm a newbie anymore, but I'm still definitely in the learning stages with all my abilities because they haven't stopped. They keep adding more and more. So as I try to get a handle on one or two of them, another one will pop up. So my running right now is I think I'm up to about 7 or 8 different abilities that I'm dealing with. Just trying to figure them out as they go. Um, the problem is I haven't found a niche where one stands out above the rest. So I really don't call myself like a psychic or a medium or anything else. I actually call myself an intuitive because I nothing has stood out. So for those people that don't know, a lot of people that develop abilities or have abilities, one will start to stand out more than another one. And that's normally what they will call themselves. They'll normally be like, "Oh, well, I'm a psychic and I'm a medium, or I'm a shaman, or I'm whatever," and that's awesome. But until um, until one rises above the other or stands out, I pretty much stay with intuitive. So that's kind of what I'm going. Right, Rosie? Rosie's saying Uh, same. As soon as I think I have one figured out, something else comes up. Right. It's been happening to me so much lately. It's been kind of wild. Um, I don't know why we have that. I don't know if it's just because it's something that's tied to our pasts, and I say that plurally because it's something that tied to our past lives, multiples that we may have had some abilities at one life and another abilities at another life, and they all kind of just met up in this life right now. So we're still picking them up as we come around. Like I said, my awakening or my realization that I really had anything truly was about 2 years ago. Um, so it's interesting to see how they're coming in play. And I can kind of say that's how I feel about that because when I did run into an elemental, um, turns out my guest is going to show up. He just got home. So, but he'll be on shortly. But when my stuff did start showing up, or when I did run into an elemental, when he told me that my essence was older than he is, and he said he was 15,000 years old, it kind of let me know that hey, maybe something's to it, and all my abilities are just coming in from the past. Hi, Uwe, how are you? Primal, how are you, Sunshine? Yep. Again, for those people who are just rolling in, I am guestless tonight, but he is going to pop in. He just got home from work, so I'm just kind of entertaining people as we go along. A little song and dance, so that you guys know a little bit more that you already don't know. Hi, Sandy, how you doing? Then what you don't already know now, and um, Nikki and I are going into. Hi, Janet, how are you? Nikki and I are kind of going into shift mode here pretty soon, to where we're going to start doing a little bit more than what we are now. Um, I run my show. I'm talking about doing a podcast, just little 5, 10 minute podcasts that I can just put out whenever, because I know a lot of people have a hard time popping in and listening to these, which is really nice. I really appreciate people coming to the videos. But if I also do podcasts, then it's really easy for you just to pop into a podcast, listen to me yabbering for like 5, 10, 15 minutes, because you don't need to have my pretty bearded face on here. I call this man pretty, just so you know. A lot of kids call me Harley Santa, so that's kind of a name I picked up as well. So it's kind of nice. I don't mind. The kids are really weird, because they'll look at me whenever I'm out and about, and they just stare at me and smile and wave. And I've had kids actually come up to me and like hug my legs. I have no idea who these kids are. They just come up to me and they hug my leg, and um, it's been an interesting interaction with the kids, because the parents don't have the same reaction. They kind of look at me and go, nope, nope, not that guy. Go away from that guy. So they'll steer them away. But yes, I thought about doing a podcast. I think I've done one, but it was just an introductory podcast. It didn't gain too much traction, but I think it's because there's no meat behind it, and I really didn't tell you guys about it. But I am doing a podcast. I think it's posted out to like 10 or 15 different sites. Um, I wasn't sure I was going to run with it, but I think I'm going to. So now that I think that's something I'm going to do. I'm going to post where you can find it at. That doesn't mean it's replacing this online show on Monday nights. It's not. It's just going to be something additional, kind of Tom's thoughts of the day. But it's going to be, like I said, not every day. It's probably going to be like this once a week or whatever else, twice a week, whenever I just feel like I can jump on and just chat. So thank you, Primal. A lot of people tell me that. They see that I am just a big, cuddly teddy bear, and I'm not this big, scary guy that a lot of people see me as. I'm not a small man. Um, and I don't have the prettiest of faces. I have a great face for radio, as people say, but the kids really are drawn to me. I think they're actually drawn to my energy and my vibes and my vibration, because it's a pretty high vibration, I've been told. So a lot of people are drawn to that, especially the kids, because they see it for what it is, and they know I'm there to help them and to protect them, not to harm them, which is a huge benefit. And I'm really blessed with that kind of side. Um, like I said, I'm kind of bouncing conversations right now until my guest does come on. But where was I at? Oh, sorry. But I'm gonna do the podcast coming up, and I think my first one is actually gonna be what resonates me the most, which is gonna be the elementals. And I'll do a quick 15 minute discussion on all types of elementals, how I see them, excuse me, how they interact not only with us when we're not paying attention, which we should be, but also with the earth and as a whole. Um, I get a lot of really cool information from the elementals, just in everyday life. It's crazy, because you can feel an energy shift if you're around me and I'm tuned into an elemental, or I'm tuned into the elementals. You can feel a shift, whether it be in the air, the ground, if I'm in the water, if I'm around fire, any of it, you can actually feel a shift, and it's pretty cool. Some people have had, I don't want to say the honor, but the some people have been with me when it's happened. I think Uilani was with me at once or twice when it's happened, but I know that Melody and Joe Panohu have definitely been around it when it's happened, and it's been pretty interesting, because stuff just happens. And it's been pretty cool. But so I think that's going to be the first one I start with. I'm going to kind of share how I see them, because I really see them just like I'm looking at a person, and I hear them just like they're. I mean, it's someone having a conversation with me, just like I do anybody else. That's how an elemental and I interact. It's to me, it's normal. Thanks, Leilani. I appreciate that. It's very normal, but for most people who don't understand that, or if they get the chance to experience and it just happens to pop up once, they'll be like, "Woo, that's interesting. I've never done anything like that." So, Jason, brother, what's going on? How you doing? So we're kind of standing by and waiting for Ray to pop in. Like I said, he had an unavoidable delay. That whole work thing keeps getting in the way, and it kind of stepped in front of him today. So he's just getting home. I just figured he forgot what time it was because he already asked me once. Thought we were 2 hours behind him, but I had to tell him it was only an hour. So I just figured he was running with that. So he'll show up. He'll pop in whenever. But in the meantime, I have been also kind of toying with some other things. We have started investigating with some other teams to see how they investigate because we want to. We have our own way of Nikki and I have our own way of investigating, but we want to see what other tips and tricks other people have. So we kind of rolled into that, and we did go out. I mentioned before we went out to Washington, Iowa, to go play with the team called RIP or Riverside Iowa Paranormal. They're fantastic. Um, they were nice enough to bring us along and let us kind of and it was a huge group. It wasn't just their team. It was a huge group that 40 50 people, and we had three different locations, so it was pretty nice to go out there. I On a personal side, I believe that when we have the larger groups like that, um, we seem to have less activity, and I think it's a combination of people just not caring, and they're just kind of there because their friends are there, or some people just I don't know, for whatever reason, I think the spirit is uncomfortable with so many people being in an area at once. Now we weren't 50 people in one location. We split up, so we had 10 to 15 people, 20 people in each location, depending on where we were. But I still think it matters on how focused you are on the investigation, how many people there are in the investigation, if you came with the right vibe into an investigation and stuff like that. If you're if you're not into it, they're not going to be into it. I don't think that. I think if that was the case, then more stuff would happen in more people's homes or around them when they're in locations, not necessarily the homes, but anywhere, because spirit really wants to tell the story. So I think that's a big part of it. But I'm going to stop now because my guest is on. I can see him hiding in the background, just popped in. Holy crap, we could be brothers. This is scary. Wait for this. So, everyone, welcome to Gooz.
What's
What's up?
happening, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Awesome. I apologize, man. Things have been just like a madhouse all day. Scrambling to get home. I felt extremely unprofessional. I apologize, but thank
Hey,
you for having me on.
yeah, you do. I told him. I said, look. I said, I think he's out. I think he was out. I don't know. I think he was playing dice or something like that, or he was at the casino. No,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
no.
I was
I
in the
told him,
middle of
yeah,
a really hot poker game and I
right. You're in
just
a really
couldn't
hot streak, and
get
you
away.
kept winning, and you're like, nah, he can wait till later. No, I
Right.
told him that you were unavoidable detainment at work. That whole four-letter
Yeah.
word thing again that we got to deal with all the time.
That's
So,
healthcare for you.
so
It's
how you
really
doing,
any
brother?
job, actually. I'm doing good besides like just having one of those typical Mondays where nothing goes right. Doing good. Just kind of gearing up, just kind of planning for next year. It's been kind of
Yeah.
slow because I have a surgery coming up in February. Nothing
Oh,
serious.
okay.
It's an elective thing. It's just been I've been just having to bank all my PTO, so it's been kind of slow.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Paranormal speaking, I haven't really gone out there and investigated a whole lot. Thank
Yeah.
God for our show because other than that, I probably wouldn't be doing anything. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I was just telling him that my wife and I, Nikki, we we went out to Washington, Iowa with the RIP crew, with Michelle
nice.
Roos and Brittany Isley and all them. And we went out. Well, Brittany
Yeah,
wasn't there, unfortunately. She couldn't make it, but a bunch of the crew were there, and a bunch of the junior RIP was there, which is kind of nice to work with them.
nice. Yeah,
But it was a large crowd. We did three different locations, and we had like 50 people that were there. Um, so it was interesting to do that as a group. But we started doing
yeah.
it because my wife and I investigate, but we're only a two-person team. So we like to see
Okay.
how other teams investigate as well,
Yeah,
and maybe
absolutely.
pick up tips and tricks from them. So I have a question.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
really for you, or this is really for you or anybody in the audience, because I just want to know. Um, we just bought a Chattergeist, one of the Chattergeist. I don't know if you know what
Okay.
that is.
I've
Um,
I see so many of the equipment
it's a really
promos and
small
everything.
it's a really small disc,
Uh-huh. Okay.
and it's pretty much like the Ovilus has like 4 to 5 thousand words. This thing has like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
17,000 words on it.
Holy crap.
It also has like the EMF built into it, so if anything comes up, it'll set the lights off and everything else. It also has a sound one,
Nice.
and it's all built into this little tiny disc.
Okay.
And we were able to pick one up. I was able to pick one up for relatively inexpensive. It was funny. I was looking for one, and I asked my wife, "Hey, would you like to get one of these?" And she was funny. I was just writing that down as a Christmas present I wanted. Um, so
Nice.
she got an early Christmas present, but I didn't know if anyone else had used one out there, if you had happened to see one or use one. But that's going to be our next toy to play with as well. So
That sounds awesome. No, I have not used one. I have used like different types of Ovilus. I mean, I'm always into like experimenting with pretty much any kind of technology if I see something I can get my hands on. But no, I've not used the chatter guys.
yeah, Jason, it's a little larger than a silver dollar, I would say. Jason is asking how big is the chatter guys? It's a little bigger than the silver dollar, and
Oh wow.
it's really thin. I would probably say it's as thin as an Oreo. Um,
Wow.
but it's got all this. Hi, Kim. How are you? It's got all this technology built into it. It also has like you can do. Oh, it has like the magic 8 ball in it and crap like that too. So you
Oh
can kind
yeah.
of play around with it to
That's cool.
answer yes, no, maybe later type of stuff.
And I think
So,
it's actually when you said that I have
Virgil, how
seen
are
it.
you?
I've seen people messing around with it on Facebook, like on their
Yeah,
live
yeah,
feeds and everything. Yeah. It looks
yeah,
cool. It looks cool.
yeah, right. Hey, we have a person popping in from Manchester, England. So you missed the intro.
Howdy.
I kind of do a time run of everywhere in the world because everybody kind of pops in. We have someone who coming
Yeah.
from Indonesia, a couple coming from
Oh, nice.
Australia, all over the
That's
place.
awesome.
So it's nice to see we got people popping in from all over the place.
Yeah, I love
But
that when we have that on our show. It's awesome.
yeah, so I'm gonna run back and kind of do what I normally do on the show now that you're here. Everybody, that's the Gooz over there.
Guys.
So I I do, and the best part is you're coming onto a show where I never ever have a pre-canned question except for one, and it's the one I'm
Okay.
going to ask you now to kind of do an intro, and it's basically
Yeah.
introduce yourself. What do you do, and how did you get into it?
Oh wow. So my name's Ray Goosby. People call me the Goose right there.
The Gooz.
The Goose. It's just obviously it's a shortened term of my last name. But I got into it. It sounds real cliche, but about when I was about 10 years old, um, we moved into a house that had some activity that we couldn't explain. And to kind of explain my family, um, we well, my mom and dad were both heavy into a Pentecostal church. So if my brother and I went to them,
Dude, my
yeah,
grandfather
and
was a Pentecostal preacher.
yeah,
So
yeah, mine too.
yeah.
My dad, yeah,
Oh
he
yeah,
was
it's my
an ex,
grandfather.
he was an ex pastor, and then we were just, we moved to Ohio. He got a full time job at a factory, but we still were deep in this church. But if I had told them anything about this, anything I was
Yeah,
witnessing or anything, they would have thought either I was crazy or possessed myself, and they would have brought me
right.
up in front of the congregation and they're hooju, whatever. So I started reading books like, most kids when we're like 10 years old or at night sneaking in like, our comic books or Playboys and, underneath the covers,
Yeah, with the
with the
flashlight.
flashlight reading. Yeah.
Yeah,
Reading, but I was like reading Hans Holzer, Lloyd Auerbach, like all these old school metaphysical and ghost hunter books and trying to figure it out for myself. And then,
yeah,
my brother was going through the same thing and we just didn't know what to do. So I'd wake up and he'd be camped out in my room on the floor. So like, if I wasn't afraid of the ghost, I was afraid of this kid laying on my floor when I was getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom.
right.
He was just like there, and he'd always like kind of laid like half under the bed and like with his head like on the carpet right underneath my feet. Scared
Yeah,
the shit out of me. But I just, just all of that happening, and like I said, nobody to go to, so we kind of just dealt with it in our own way. My brother was like the online guy, and he was very technical musical guy, and he started listening to like EVPs that people were posting online, and he started making music out of them, which was pretty cool. But I just, it was a lot later. I mean, I was probably 27 by the time I realized, I could really go out and like actually do this, like physically go investigate.
Yeah.
And it was, I know we pick a lot on the shows now, but if it wasn't for shows like um Paranormal State and Ghost Hunters, like the original crew, um I probably would have never done it, because I didn't know you could actually just go and pay money and do this. Then I got
Yeah.
into a team that started helping people, which was great, but the team I was on, he was just very, I don't know, he had a stick up his ass, excuse my language, about how he did things. Like,
Yeah.
he was
Hold on.
very scientific.
I
Yeah.
got you covered. Hold on. Give me a
Yeah.
second. All right, we're good. You talk about
Okay.
whatever you want.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, and he was very strict on how he ran the team. We would go, and if we had like one piece of activity, we would literally spend the last hours of our time trying to debunk it, instead of
Yeah.
continuing on the investigation and just saying that was interesting. That's something
Let's
to,
go. Yeah. Check out
yeah, to
later.
document, and let's keep going. But he wouldn't let us like try out new equipment unless it was like scientifically proven and being used for debunking. I mean, it just,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, like I learned a lot from him, especially when it comes to residential cases, but it wasn't fun anymore, because I didn't feel like I can experiment or grow or learn
Yeah.
anything.
Yep.
So like that happened, and we joined Dark Alley, and we started our own. They're out of Columbus, and we started our own chapter um, in Northeast Ohio, which is where I'm at, and we've been going ever since. And then I uh, I I'm the host of the Cryptic Paranormal Show, which is every Thursday night from 8 to 10 on Facebook and YouTube. And that's been pretty much predominantly what I've been working on, just doing the
Yeah.
show. And a lot of times it'll just be the three of us, because I have my co-host Denise and Michael.
Yep.
Um, and we'll just hang out and talk to the chat room, and just kind of like, we call it back porch talk, because we all volunteer at Madison Seminary, which is a very awesome historical, very haunted building that we all volunteer at.
Huh.
And we spend a lot of time on the back porch going down paranormal rabbit holes, and that's what we do. And then we have guests on too every once in a while when we can schedule. I'm horrible at scheduling, dude. Like, I'm
Dude,
amazed at anybody that could schedule like months out, and I'm like calling, like, I would shows on Thursday night, and I'm like hitting somebody up on Tuesday, like, hey, you got anything going on Thursday?
yeah,
So,
I'm a one man band, and I'm scheduled out through the end of January. So
yeah,
that's kind of how I do it. I don't know. So do me a favor, give me the name of the show again. Paranormal.
the Cryptic Paranormal Show.
Uh, I actually looked this
Yep.
up earlier. Um, and the reason I'm asking you is because I'm actually typing it in right now, and then I'm going to
Okay.
add it, and that way it's
Cool.
going to flood into my comments,
Nice.
and that way
Yep.
it'll go to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So that way people want to
Awesome.
find you.
Yep.
That's how they get out there and
Yeah.
they'll find you. So
Yeah, and we have our own Facebook page, but we're also under the RU Media Network umbrella of creators and
okay,
and paranormal podcasters. If you guys, I'm sure some of you have heard of Resident Undead.
yep,
They're the flagship. They're the ones who started the whole thing, and they
cool,
started their own media group and invited us to come on, and we've been running for them ever since. But yeah, every Thursday night from 8 to 10, we're taking a hiatus during December just because there's so much going on. The
yeah,
holidays have got us going busy. We have kids, so it's just a lot. But yeah, every Thursday night from 8 to 10, and we go out on Facebook and YouTube as well. So then, like, if our shows automatically get archived into the RU Media Network YouTube page.
oh, nice,
So
nice.
yeah,
That'll be good because, like I said, now it's in the comments, and people will hear you talk about
yeah,
that. And you'll notice that
check us out.
a lot of times, what'll happen is a guest will like type something into the comments, and you'll see me
Yeah,
pop up and read it
yeah,
first before we answer it. And it's simply because there's so many people that just listen to my show
yeah,
that they
yeah,
don't see
yeah.
it, so I have to read it out to them just in case. So I want to make
I
sure
gotcha.
they're if you give a weird statement, they're like, where did that statement come from? It's
Right.
because there was a comment that popped up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we have a lot of
yeah,
people that just listen in. They'll put it on their phone or whatever at work, and they just set it aside
yeah, I got a lot of
the
people that
volume up.
listen. Yeah, I got a lot of people that listen at work or they're
Yeah.
doing stuff around the house or whatever else. So we had a question
Right.
earlier. Virtual asked a question, so I'm gonna pop
Okay.
this up for you. Um, he stated, "I had an accident last week. I fell into my wife's used
Jeez.
Knickers basket head first when I was drunk and passed out immediately. I was rushed
Oh
to the
no.
hospital via an air ambulance and thankfully was resuscitated. Thank the Lord." Any thoughts? Um, don't drink around your wife used Knicker basket.
Yeah, right.
I-
Just make sure your floor is completely clean when you drink.
yeah, as far as
Sorry to hear
with
that,
that,
man. I mean, I don't really know what.
yeah,
I mean, I'm glad. I
I think it's
thank
just
God
chalked
you
up
were.
to. I think it's just chalked up
Yeah,
to you self-explained it. I think it's chalked up to
yeah,
being drunk. I don't think there was
yeah.
anything with it. So
No, that's a crazy story though, man. I'm glad everything worked out and you're okay. Hopefully, nothing
yeah,
long term's happening. But
Virgil will
thanks for
pop
sharing the
in.
story.
Virgil shows up every once in a while in my show, and he tells some crazy stories. So
Oh,
I like to
okay,
share him with the
yeah,
guest every once in a while. So, um,
that's cool.
so now that we've got to know a little bit about you, about the Gooz, um, I'm going to ask all the basic questions first. The
Absolutely.
basic questions like when you investigate, do you have a favorite piece of equipment you like to use?
That's a good question. When I first started, I bought everything that I could get my hands on. Now, honestly, if I have anything, I have like an old Olympus recorder that I love. It just nothing special about it. It doesn't plug into your computer. It's just
Yeah.
basically hit record and go. And then I do have a Jeff Fent built spirit box that I like to use.
Oh, nice.
Um, he personalized it for me. I had bought all the internals. He had actually made the cabinet as a gift for me, but it was just an empty cabinet. He's like, "You just do what you want with it." So I'm like, "This is really cool," because it was made out of Madison seminary wood that he had
Hmm.
harvested from like scraps and stuff. So it was really cool. I had it for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years, and I could not figure out how to build a box. I am not technically crafted, but everybody, and I just saw his work, and I'm like, dude, I had bought all these internals. Here's a bag full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it to him. I gave him the box. I'm like, can you help me out? I will pay for it, whatever you need. He's like, don't worry
Yeah.
about it. I think you have everything that I need. And he built me this box, and it's just been, I love it, man. I mean, I love using ITC
Yeah.
experimentation when I investigate, but those two things really, I mean, maybe an EMF detector. Other than
Yeah.
that, that's about it, dude.
Yeah.
I like experiencing things now. Like I don't really do
Yeah. That's
residential. I don't really do residential cases anymore. Um,
yeah.
so we really like going to like the smaller, kind of lesser known historical buildings. But yeah, that's it. I mean, that's what I use. And by the end of the night, halfway through, I have maybe my flashlight. That's about it, because I'm just there, just kind of in the environment, kind of just experiencing and feeling everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of how I am. Um, and I really rely on myself more than anything because
Yeah,
I am a spirit. I am a psychic and a medium. And I'd rather hear it from them.
yeah, right,
But a lot of people, I realize that a lot of people around me, um, they trust me,
yeah,
so they say, but they validate with but they validate with the equipment.
yeah, yeah,
And I would rather have that because a lot of the stuff,
hmm,
like at least one person will always be recording. So if
yeah,
I say something and then all of a sudden something goes off, they're like, "Oh crap, that's exactly what you just said." They're
right,
responding to what you said. So that's kind of cool.
yeah.
So
That is
hi Cheryl, how
awesome.
you doing? Yeah, so
And
it's
I'm not at the level you are probably, but doing this for so long and going on the journey that I've been on, I've
yeah,
definitely become more in tune with the
yeah,
spiritual side of things. So there'll be times where I'll just say I'll experiment. We'll do a walkthrough, and I'll have somebody like following me with like an EMF detector or something, but
right.
far enough that they're not picking up on what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been a couple times where I walk in a room like, oh shit, just how it just hits you, that
Oh
energy,
yeah.
and you
Yeah.
just like your stomach feels like it drops, and you get like a headache. I'm like, get that in here, dude. Like, let's take some readings, and that thing will go off like crazy. And I'm like, hey. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm getting sensitive, and I've been working
That's
on it with developing it. And
Yeah. Well, and that's what I mean. Unfortunately, you know, I get a chance to talk early, but I'm very new
yeah,
at mine. I actually
mhm,
only came into mine about 2 years ago.
okay,
But I got slammed like I was drinking from a fire hose with the abilities I got. So they just
yeah.
rushed me and said, "Here, you have all of
Oh
these.
wow, yeah.
Now figure out how to use them." And I'm like, "Oh crap!
They
I wear
jumped you.
slip I wear slip-on shoes because I can't figure out how to time anymore. And it's too far down. So you want me to figure out how to do what?"
Yeah. No, I get
So
it, man. It's like you're just going along doing your own thing, kind of sensitive here, and then all of a sudden something happens, and it's just like bam, they knock you down. They're like, "We know you hear us, so it's time you listen." You know,
right,
it's like they got
yeah,
you on the floor.
yeah. And now we're working towards the more on the investigation side.
Yeah,
Because I do do I said do I do resolution residentials for private residents and stuff like that to help them
yeah,
see if there even is anything there. Because I would say a good 80-90% it's not.
yeah,
It's something else that can be explained. But
yeah.
when there is something, then it's nice to. I also work with the PERS team with Bill Slevin and all them. So
Oh, okay,
I also work with all them as well. So it's
nice.
nice if I get stuck, I have someone to turn and ask questions to. In fact,
Oh yeah.
Stephanie's hiding in here somewhere. Stephanie's part of our team too. So
Oh hey,
um,
Stephanie. Oh, I see her.
yeah, yeah, she's hiding in
Can't
here
hide for
too.
too long. Yeah, I mean, we used to do residentials too, like like I said when we first started. But I got tired of the drama. I just you go in there and like people just they don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
I just got tired of being like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking
Well,
about. Get out
then
of my house." Or
why did you ask me in?
right. If you already are like 100% in that your house is haunted, I have people that'll help you, but I gotta make sure that I really think that your house is haunted for you. That's
Exactly.
my
Yep.
job.
Yep.
So, but then I mean, like one case, we went in. Girl, there's all kinds of issues going on, but one of the things was the girl was like getting nauseous and sick in her room and waking up with little bruises or burns on her. And what's the first thing we do as investigators? Like if we're doing residentials, we start taking readings for
We
EMF.
start check. Yeah.
We use the EMF detectors for what they're actually meant for, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing readings and we're like, okay, so what runs under the house, like be under her room? So we go down into the basement and we're checking it out, and we happen to notice there's this this like crawl space with this thick conduit that goes all the way from the electrical box all the way down the hallway into her room, and right outside her window was a hot tub.
Oh, yeah.
So their EMF was off the chain. I'm
Off
like,
the
you got that
chain.
running
Yes.
to your room, and it's also plugging in right there outside your window where your bed is.
Yeah. You're getting
And
hit from underneath
she
and from the side.
Yeah,
So
she was thankful, but her dad, who set that whole thing up and installed it himself, was like, "Oh no, no, I checked that. I know I did it right." And he was getting on. He like kicked us out. I'm like,
yeah.
"What's up, Jeff? How you doing, buddy? I know him."
What's up, Jeff? How you doing?
But
Oh,
yeah,
there it
dude,
is.
that's
Hey, Goose.
just stuff like that. Um, and we had and being hosed a couple times where we show up and they think it's going to be like a party, like, and they have like friends over and they're drinking and they're like, "Oh, this is we ghost adventures in our house. This is awesome."
Yeah.
That's not the way it
Yeah.
started.
You're like, you're about to be very disappointed.
Right. I hope you guys are settled in for the night because it could be long and you make sure you're not talking at all or
Right.
so it just got to be a headache. It's not I love helping people, but too many people don't want to be helped or just trying to get you at their house to do whatever. But I don't know.
Yep. Yep.
I don't have
Yeah.
time for that drama. I
Too
mean,
old for this.
kudos to you guys who can stick with it and continue. That's awesome, and you guys are keeping us real.
Yeah. I think I do it. I do it a couple of different reasons. One is because I really do like to help others, but the other one is I kind of get a kick out of some of the stories they give me, and I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
what? Really?
yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta go see this run. Oh.
yeah.
So
Right. Well, yeah, we had one too that it was anytime there was a child involved, we would kind of forego the initial like check, like the initial like phone interview, and just
yeah,
like set up a day and get in there real quick, and then do an interview on site with the the family, then the kids, and just get a feeling of what was going on there. And I mean, literally, oh yeah, she was seeing like she drew this thing that she saw in the corner of the house, looking out the window, and it was a man with like a real tall hat and like dressed, and it, I swear to God, and it had a bloody knife. I'm
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I already knew this was going right. I'm like, and I just like we just went on about. I'm like, okay, that's scary. We're gonna try to figure out what it is. So you go over, and the first thing I do is I look at their DVD player, and right
Yep.
on the top is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer or Killer, whatever that show was. I'm like,
Yep.
why do you
Yep.
think your 5-year-old is seeing this shit?
Right. Right.
You
Oh
know, so like,
my kid explained it. It's so real.
yeah.
Mhm.
But you know, we
Yeah.
already played it up like we're gonna help you, we're gonna do what we can. So we were dedicated or committed at that point. So
Yeah.
you know, and there was, I don't know. I mean, there was some weird things we couldn't explain, but you know, we just the big takeaway we just told her, and she was pretty receptive to it. Like, just be aware of what your kid is watching and kind of explain.
Yeah.
If you allow them to watch
Excuse me.
that kind of crap, make sure they
Yeah.
know it's not real. You
Yeah.
know, or be
Exactly.
prepared that they're going to be scared.
Like the Bear Squatch commercial. Have you seen that one?
Yes, yeah,
It's
yeah,
a Bear Squatch.
exactly.
Dad, what's a Bear Squatch? It's a cross between. Never mind. They're just made up.
Right. Oh my gosh,
So
man.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, kudos to you for keeping it up, man. I mean, I appreciate everybody who's still out there doing that kind of work.
So
There's
Rosie's asking a question. She said, "When you know it's not true, do you still charge them?" Rosie,
I
we
don't
don't
charge
charge.
them.
Yeah,
We don't
a
charge
lot of
either.
teams don't charge at all. They're really there just to
Yeah.
help the folk. It's
But
not
kind of
about
speaking on that, going back to the people that were sitting around drinking wine while
right.
we performed for them, I and that stipulation, I would have, if I'd known that was going on, I may have charged them for that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because at that
Hey,
point, I'm just a
there's
party act. I'm like the clown
yeah,
that shows up for your kid's birthday.
yeah. Because like, hey,
So
that there's a $100 consult fee, right? We talk
yeah.
about that.
But no, I mean, we'd never charged for residential, but
Yeah.
even now, like when we help like run, even if I do like we do like for the show, if we have like a public ghost hunt that we host,
Hmm.
we don't keep any of the money. It goes all of it goes right to the location that we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
That's what
and
I've
we
seen
don't
in a
get
lot
any
of
freebies.
places.
We still
Yeah.
pay our fair share to get into these places and have our show there, and you know, we don't.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not too many people. A lot of people like when you go to the cons and like and you're setting up a booth, unless you are like the main attraction, a lot of people
Yeah,
are paying to get in for their booth area and everything else to
yeah,
have people
yeah.
come talk to you. That's
Mhm.
for those people who don't know out there, um, a Paracon or something like that doesn't pay everybody who shows up to that to come talk
No,
or to come
no,
in a
not at
booth
all.
or just to hang out. It's really the other side. Unless you're very well known, and like I said, you're one
Yeah.
of the key speakers, you can expect to pay to for your hotel, for your they might give you a lunch or stuff like
Yeah.
that. But for the most part, you're the one paying for your stuff to get out there, just to try to get your name out there, to get well known,
Mhm.
and so you can help others, um, and let people know that you are out there.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
is there?
Conventions are awesome for that.
Oh yeah, when you I will let you know though. Caveat: conventions are also great for people like us because we have the ability to meet the people that we admire that kind of got us into this.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
brings us close to go stand by them and get a selfie and
Yeah.
do that cool stuff, and then we can say, "Look what I
Yeah. Yeah.
did." So,
Yeah. I've Dustin Pari and I know each other just from how many times I had to selfie with him at like different conventions we've been at. So
that's funny. That's the funny that you say that. That's the name you bring up because in March, uh, the RIP crew is doing an investigation up there with him
oh nice. Yeah, he's an
in
awesome
March
guy.
up at Edinburgh out in Iowa. So yeah,
Okay.
up at the
Cool.
Edinburgh Manor. So they're going to do that, and they're doing it as another group event. Like people can buy tickets to get to it
Yeah.
and meet him
Yeah.
and everything else. So that'll be nice.
He's just an awesome guy. I sat at his lecture at Potographs for Pooch's Paracon
Yeah.
last year.
Oh yeah.
And it was just yeah, and it was just he's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah. That's
he makes it fun, but he's also like he's got a big message, and I really appreciate the fact that he's so into, like, he's an advocate for mental health awareness, and
Hmm.
that's a big thing. As somebody who is fighting through that, like, every day, like myself, it's nice to see
Yeah.
somebody, because we all have issues, but it's nice
Oh
to see
yeah.
somebody like that kind of get behind that. But yeah, he's a
Yeah.
good dude. Sorry.
Abs- oh no, absolutely no. So again, unfortunately, Goose didn't get a chance to talk to me before the show because he had that stupid work thing involved. So I didn't get a
Stupid
chance to
work.
give him a rundown on everything that happens. My show, just so you are aware, Goose,
Yeah.
expect squirrel moments. If we don't have squirrel moments, we are not doing the show right.
Squirrel
So
moments.
yeah, we just go squirrel. Oh wait, we talked about something else. Okay, hold on, we got something else to talk about over here.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we don't have squirrel moments, my show is not correct.
We have
That means
those
it's
all the
way
time.
right. That means it's way too formal at that time. We're shutting it down. We're starting over.
Yeah.
Everyone come back on Tuesday.
If you're talking to me, I'm like the paranormal ADD guy. I'm not really diagnosed as that, but ghost, 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 Sasquatch.
Right? Yeah.
UFOs, aliens. Yeah,
And we talk about all that on my show. So you can talk about any of that on the show.
yeah.
I cover it all, which is
So do
kind of
we.
cool.
Yeah.
So going back to the general blah 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 questions, because some people expect those. Uh,
Yeah.
with your investigations that you've done, is there any place that you've gone to when you're just like, nope, no, not going back to that place. Too not fun. Nope.
I don't know, man. I mean, the only place that really has, like, screwed me up to that point where I would never say I don't think I haven't been to a place where I'd say I'll never go back there.
Yeah.
But there's one place that is pretty dang close, and that's Penhurst. Um, Penhurst School. It's the first time I really, like, notice that I, like, absorb stuff when I'm in it, like the energy around me. So
Hmm.
we were witnessing a lot of activity. Like, that place, there was like three of us there was only three of us in this building on the third floor of the I think it was the Mayflower building. Yeah, it was the Mayflower. And we're just sitting there and we're just being completely quiet. We're not running EVPs. We're not doing anything. We're just observing.
Yeah.
And you hear voices and people walking up and down like this thing is still open. You know, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
But when you know the history going in, just so you know kind of what to expect. And we went down into this area in a basement, and I was just overcome with the most horrible, just depression is the what best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
Just because of the way the place was and what it had been and how those kids were treated, and, like, it just, you start feeling that, like, yeah, it's all preloaded in your head because you've watched the documentaries and the shows and stuff on it, but you don't feel it until you get in there, especially if you're
Right.
sensitive.
Yeah.
And I had to leave, and I couldn't go back into that building at all for the rest of the time we
Yeah.
were there. And we were there 2 nights, and that was the first night. I'm like, I will sit out here and just, like check out the grounds until we move on to a different area, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But I couldn't go back in that building, and I was in a
Huh.
serious funk for, like, a serious heavy funk for like 2 weeks after that, and I ended up having to do a remote, like, cleansing session with a friend of mine who's what does what she calls theta healing, which is basically
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So she's a practitioner of that, and like 2 sessions, I finally felt okay. Like the clouds parted and the sun started coming through again. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It was.
You think something
I
just
would have
decided
to
to hit you
think.
right home with you?
Well, I don't know, man. It's just possibly, or just I just absorbed so much of that negativity that I just
Yeah.
couldn't. And again, being new to, like, this whole sensitive thing, I wasn't protecting myself at all either. Like, I would go in like, yeah, nothing's gonna happen to me. We're gonna see ghosts, and I'll go home. You know what I mean? That wasn't the case at that
Yep. And
point.
they were like,
So
oh wait, I like this guy. He's got nothing on. Let's go after this
yeah,
one.
yeah,
So
right, yeah,
which
yeah.
you
He's
know
got
what?
no,
It's funny because when we talk about stuff like this, it turns me into another question. Talking about that, you're just completely open and you're
yeah,
sensitive. And I'm sure you've learned from that experience. When you
oh yeah.
when you protect yourself, is it something that you like crystals you wear, or is it something that you just manifest around you, like everyone does the great white bubble?
Uh,
Um,
yeah,
so
I'm kind of
what are
like
your
a mixture of things. I don't like, even after all that, I still don't like to create like a force field around me.
Mhm.
Because I'm afraid that's just going to completely cut me off from experiencing what's happening there, like the activity, interacting with the spirits at a location. I I I am I am in the Ask the True Faith with it. If you don't know, that's like Norse mythology, people would call it. But I'm an Ask the True pagan. So
okay?
I believe in the gods, and I do a lot of ritual cleansing before I go to a location.
What are you talking
Um,
about? What are you talking about? I may know something about them or not.
yeah, yeah. So skull. So I always have like my Mjolnir, or my Thor's
Yeah,
hammer
Thor's hammer.
dependent
Yeah,
on me, or I have a bear claw it's got the Elder Falkirk runes around it. One of
yep,
those two pendants, I always wear those because I put a lot of protection energy into them.
yeah,
Um, they're like my shield, but it's not completely enclosing me.
yeah.
Um, and I also carry. I don't have it with me, and I don't know where I put it, but it is a crystal. I find I'm very attached to bloodstone crystal.
Me
It's like a
too.
jasper.
That's
Yeah,
oh yeah.
yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
yeah.
Like the pendulum. It started off because I was looking for a pendulum, my first pendulum, and it's been my last pendulum. It's the only
Nice man.
pendulum I ever had, and I'm like, how do you pick one? I don't know how you pick one, because my friend Nora Custer, she makes them and sells them. She actually has a shop. She's
Yeah,
like, just pick them up and like put your hands in front of them, because she actually had them displayed out in a row where you can actually put your hand underneath each one of them and just kind of feel. I swear to God, when I put my hand towards that bloodstone one, it's like it moved into my hand.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
okay,
You're like,
okay,
okay, there we
Harry
go.
Potter moment. The wand chooses the wizard. Um, so I took it, and this thing works amazing for me. So I'm like, I'm just gonna stick with the thing that I know, that I know I have a connection with.
Yeah,
So I found online they had this little bloodstone. It was a little carved bear,
hmm,
a grizzly bear made out of a
yeah,
bloodstone. It's little enough I could still throw in my pocket, but
yeah.
that's what I use, because the bear is also my totem animal, or my spirit animal. Um,
Cool.
so I have that, and then it's carved out of my go-to crystal.
Yeah,
So I just use those two things. But if I start feeling things, I feel myself going down that path now before it's too late.
right.
Um, so I know which way to go with it. I know if I can continue it. I feel like I know when I could back off, and I know how to ground. And it's as simple as getting out of the building for a few minutes. I
Yep,
grab a tree, put my feet in the grass, something. I
yep,
touch something that's natural with nature, where I know that the sun is coming down, cleansing me all the way down into my feet, and the dirt is going back into the ground where it
yeah,
belongs.
yep,
And that's helped. I mean, it's helped a lot. Not to say that I
yeah,
haven't had my moments, but it's helped.
yeah. No, absolutely. Hi, Susan.
Up,
How are
Susan.
you?
Up, Susan.
Yeah, that's interesting,
Oh,
and people are picking up on similarities between you and I quite a bit, which is pretty funny.
yeah.
Rosie even said, "Wow, it could definitely be brothers." Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's funny because my audience who are regulars know that I am a Norse and Native American descendant.
Okay.
So I lived through
Awesome.
both of those sides pretty
Yeah.
regularly. In fact, my all my markings on me are pretty much either Norse or Native American.
Okay.
Um, except for the cross I wear on my forearm. I have a
Yeah.
cross tattoo, kind of hard to see, but
Oh,
cross
sweet.
tattoo,
Yeah, I like
and
that.
it's got the four main archangels on each corner,
Okay.
one on each corner. So they
Cool.
watch over me as well. But Rosie wants to know: have you ever taken anything home with you from an investigation? Now, are we talking spiritual, or did he pick something up and actually carry it home from an investigation? So that's an important question.
Definitely number one, that's just illegal to do that. Number two, I don't want it to like be haunted and bring it home. My wife, like you said, your wife and you work together and you do investigation work.
Yeah.
My wife,
Yeah.
even though she's the one who talked me into like actually going out and starting investigating,
Yeah.
she is on the complete opposite end and is like doesn't want anything to do with it. She believes in it to the point where she's like, I don't want anything to do with it. It scares me. I have a bubble, an impenetrable bubble, and I want to keep it there. And I don't, it's just stuff like that. But I know I forgot where I was going with this. What were we talking about?
We were talking about, have you ever brought anything home with you?
Oh yeah. Sorry. No, like one of the first,
The squirrel.
probably I think it was my, yeah, exactly. My second investigation at Madison Seminary. Um, Again, this is way before I even knew cleansing and stuff like that was the thing. I thought you
Yeah.
just went and talked to ghosts and you went home.
Yeah.
And I went home, and for probably a week after, we would hear like footsteps and just weird stuff going on, and my wife would just give me that dirty look like you a hole,
What
you
did you
know.
bring?
Yeah. And
It's
it
up there. You can say it.
what's that?
I said the
Oh.
parental
Oh,
advisory.
okay, I
You can
gotcha. I
say
gotcha.
it.
Okay. Yeah, she's like, you asshole. But
Yeah.
this one night it all culminated, and I knew I was in horrible trouble because, and granted, our girls were tiny and they were just like started, sleeping in their big girl beds. So it was very common for them to be up goofing around. But this was
Yeah.
pretty late. We hear this like loud running up and down the hallway. Didn't see anything, and we heard this little girl laughing hysterically. Didn't sound like either of our girls.
Yeah.
Oh God, what's happening? So I run up there. I'm like, okay, this better be one of the girls. I'm hoping they're up and messing around. Um, and not one of them. They were both sound asleep. I even did what I used to call the arm test, where I'd walk in and pick up their arm
Pick
and
them
like
up.
let it
Let it
drop.
go.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And if it just went like that, like a limp noodle, then I knew that they were actually
Yep.
asleep.
Just out.
And
Yeah.
they're both. And I'm like, oh no, like this is not normal. Actually, it's paranormal, and I'm
Yeah.
afraid to go
Right.
look down the stairs at my wife and tell her I think I may have done something without noting I did something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I looked down the stairs because we have
Look what you
I love
did.
yeah, and that's when she really gave me a really good, light and nice, loud, you asshole. So I'm just like, I just stood there like for like 15 minutes. I'm like, whoever this is, please, please, please know that we mean no harm, but you do not belong here. Like, we do
Yeah.
not want you here. And it dissipated after like a day, and it
Yeah.
was, that was the worst of it. I mean, other than that, though, besides Penhurst and like absorbing all that negativity and that depression, just because it's just saturated there and it's saturated into me, I don't think I really had too many visitors come home with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't believe Nikki and I have. Um, we, if so, let me preface this. When we leave an investigation, we sage and palo the shit out of ourselves. Um, and then when we get home, we put everything in we take it all out of our car and we put everything in our garage, and then we sage the garage. I mean, when I say we sage the garage, it's like when we open up
Yeah,
the garage door, and it's like the next Cheech and Chong movie just happened by all the sage pouring out of it. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
we've done our due diligence by that part. Um,
yeah,
and so we haven't really brought anything home before either, so that's nice. But I mean, it could have, if we just choked it out with the sage. I don't know, but it could have thought it got really high and just wandered off into someone else's house along the property
yeah.
line. But I don't care; it's not mine. So,
Right.
Jeff wanted to know: doesn't your wife make the Ouija boards?
She makes some of them, but I make most of them.
Okay.
The one that she's a crafter, so she like does actual like big craft shows
Oh
where
yeah,
she does like, and she's like a decoupage artist, which I kind of like stole that idea for my own use, and I've been like selling like Ouija boards and making Ouija boards, and whether people use them or not, I'm not selling them, but if you want to planchette with it, I'm your guy.
yeah,
Um but the ones she's making, I mean, they're like trays, so they're like meant for decoration. They're
yeah,
not.
yeah.
She wants no part of actually using one. They freak her out, but she'll still make one. If it can make us a couple bucks. It
Right.
sounds bad, but I have a couple people
Hey,
that, I mean, I've already sold like a couple to. Like one guy, like I'm like basically his Ouija board dealer. Keep making different ones for him, but Yeah, hold on one second. I want to show you one.
Sure. Yeah. Stand by, everybody. Want a small break.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so this is kind of what I've been doing. I can actually have like special paper printed out. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
Fairfield County Infirmary.
Yeah.
So I have the and I decoupage it onto wood, and then I resin coat it, or I could just hard coat it with something. But yeah, it's just all. And then
Yeah.
people, I've been donating these a lot for like raffles and stuff. Like at FC Icon, I donated one of these.
Very cool. Yeah, those are really nice.
It's
And
fun.
they sound
It's fun.
and they sound very heavy and sturdy.
Yeah, this is heavy. I mean, it's yeah, it's
I can tell by when you hit it.
Yeah.
I can hear the sound
Yeah.
when you hit it. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think that's why
man.
most people are like, we buy it and we just set it somewhere because carrying it around with you during an investigation is probably a little cumbersome. But
Yeah.
it's not too bad until you pour that resin on it. But then it's solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I do, Jeff. He was sitting right next to me at the Old Mill Parafest
Oh yeah.
a couple months ago. And
Yeah. Jeff said
he saw some of my work.
He said he's interested in getting one from you. So Nikki
Hey,
did follow on. Nikki did follow on. By the way, Nikki's my wife, by the way, Goose. And
oh, hey, Nikki.
She did follow in with we also make sure we tell the spirits that they're not allowed to attach to us or any of our equipment before we leave. When we're leaving an investigation. You got to stay here. You ain't got to go home, but you can't come with us.
Right.
So,
right.
So we have a couple other things up here I starred.
Yeah.
Stephanie saying, my husband is the same way. He absolutely doesn't like what I do with the paranormal, but best believe if he hears or thinks something is here, I get blamed. So
I know the feeling.
Right?
I know that all too well, man.
Yeah. And
I get you,
and
Stephanie.
Rosie is asking, do you think either one of you guys believe every house has a spirit that is part of the home?
I mean, I don't think every house has a spirit, like a physical attachment.
Yeah,
I believe every
I don't.
house, especially old houses, they definitely have energy that's absorbed from everybody that's been in that home. But
Right. I don't believe they come
physical
pre-installed. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't believe they. It's like a prefabbed home. Every prefab home gets a spirit. No, I don't think the land is. I think a lot of spirit either. I think a lot of spirit comes from the land, but not all land is negative is bad that has spirit with it. If that makes sense. So just because we're building homes doesn't mean every single home's going to have a spirit with it. I think there has to be reasons for that spirit to be there.
Right.
And it could be something bad happened, something good happened. It doesn't always have to be bad. People don't understand that. Everyone thinks, oh, there's a spirit in the house because something bad happened. No, that doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes they passed away and their house was there, or whatever else, so they owned that property, and they just really. And I have, this is something that because there's a gentleman who, Nikki and I, a spirit that his name is Petey. He's a teenager, worked on a farm out in the neighborhood that we know at, and he got kicked in the head by a donkey and got killed when he was in the 1800s. Oh, wow. But he's taken residence up in one of the homes about a half a mile away. I had to talk to the girl about, hey, this is who this is. He means no harm, but he really likes your property because you live on a farm. He's very comfortable with it because he grew up on a farm. So that kind of stuff happens. He died in a negative way, but he's not a negative spirit. He's very nice. So I don't think every home gets its own spirit, but I think a lot of it ties to the reason. There's a reason why they're there. So
yeah, I agree. And like I said, though, too, it's just the energy. I think, people's energy. I'm really big on energy.
Yeah.
Like I could go in a place and I could feel something, but it may not be a spirit. It may not be an entity. It's just the energy of the place, like what it used to be. Like you could feel that. And I feel like that can make people.
And you do that when you go on investigations. You feel the energy of like the prison, or you feel the energy of the hospital, or whatever else. I mean, I'm sure that where you work now, without getting into it. When you walk in there, you feel a different energy when you walk into that place compared to when you walk into your house, simply
Oh
because of
yeah,
where you
for
were.
sure. Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I also believe, and this is like another rabbit hole, squirrel moment thing, but I have been to locations where there's been so much mythology built around like a specific entity or spirit or whatever you want to call it that may have never existed in life,
right.
but so much energy has been putting into the belief of this entity that
Yep.
it actually manifests like a spirit like energy that
You mean like
it's
Zombie
just
Boy?
yeah yeah yeah
I mean,
yeah. Well, like
yeah.
it's just for instance, there's a room at Madison Seminary called Sarah's room.
Uh-huh.
There's no history saying that a little girl named Sarah passed away there. It's just something that has been a legend with that place since it opened its doors to ghost hunting.
Yeah.
But that room is active. So we
Yeah.
don't
And
know if it's something that actually is there or something that what we call a thought form or
yeah.
something that we actually manifest ourselves by putting our
By
own
enough people
belief and
believe.
our own energy behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. By
That
enough
it
people
actually
believing.
manifests that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Nikki posted, we watched a Kindred Spirit show like this. That's why I asked about Zombie Boy,
Yeah.
because Zombie Boy was the one from
Oh,
Kindred Spirit.
okay.
But we
I was thinking
also
of Stranger Things. So
Oh,
my
no,
bad.
no, Zombie Boy was the one that was the little boy they talked about in Kindred Spirits that they
Yeah.
manifested, and then they actually
Oh, okay.
created more when they said, "Hey, your dad's name is this, your mom's name is this," and
Yeah.
then they let that sit. They read it out loud. If you haven't seen
Yeah.
the episode of Kindred Spirits, they read it out loud. So this manifestation of this boy would think that this belonged to him. So when they went back later
Mm,
that night and they said, "Is your dad's name Roger?" Well, it set off
yeah.
the EMF. They're like, "Yes, it is." And then he said,
Mm,
"Well, what about your mom? Did you have a sister?" And it would light it for
yeah.
yes, even though they made it up on their own. But they left it. They read it out and let it sit there and manifest on its own. So it built him a backstory because all it was zombie.
Yeah.
And
That's
we
cool.
have
I
the
gotta.
same thing in a home around here called Malvern Manor out in Malvern, Iowa, where
Uh,
Josh Hurd owns Malvern Manor out here,
oh,
and
okay.
they have a girl out there named Inez
Yeah.
that lives in the manor. But there's no record of an Inez ever being there. But we
Yeah.
actually have her voice recorded on a tape,
Wow.
on
Yeah.
a phone recording. Actually, Nikki has it, but there's no record of that girl ever living there. So I
Yeah.
think it's the same thing that you
Yeah.
guys have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It definitely sounds like it. And yeah, that's cool, man. So many rabbit holes you can go down with that.
so
So many.
right, Kathy is switching gears on us, which is
Oh no.
cool. She is asking, so I see your Bigfoot sign. Have you ever seen one?
Unfortunately, not yet. I haven't actually. This is like kind of how ghost hunting started with me. Is like I read a lot of books and I do a lot of my own research.
Yeah,
Um, so you can ask me if I believe in him. I'm kind of like 80-20%. I do believe in him. I it's just something that I like to read about. Um, we are we've had plans for like 2 years to like work on a project called Mysteries of the Road, where we kind of hit all the Ohio like myths and legends of cryptids and hauntings, and it's been in the works for about 2 years, and hopefully we can get it rolling this year.
hmm,
But we're gonna like the Ohio version of Bigfoot is the Ohio Grassman, and
yeah,
so we want to go check that out and talk to people that have seen them and maybe do some of our own research and active investigating to see if we could maybe find some signage. I've been on one Bigfoot walk um in Kent, Ohio, which for some reason seems to be there's a lot of witness stories and experiences about Sasquatch in
hmm,
Kent, which is literally
okay,
like
yeah,
the next town over. Like especially around the Turner's Woods area, which is
yeah,
also a very well-known Hopewell Indian Native American area. There's actually a burial ground in there, a burial mound. Um, so then again, there's this whole like mystique about Sasquatch being sort of like a Native American spirit type thing. There's
right.
so many stories, but I went on the walk. I'll get back to what I was saying. Went on the walk, and it was pretty late. It was getting to be about dusk, and we're hiking the whole park. and he's doing this howls, and we're doing knocking sounds, and we heard a howl come back. It was not a coyote.
Yeah.
It was not anything. And I'm a hunter, so like
Hmm.
I know my
What those
sounds when
sounds
I'm
are,
out in
yeah.
the water. Yeah. And I'm like, that is nothing that I've ever heard before. And then it was followed by knocks right after the howl came out. So we're like, okay, there's either somebody out there that sounds a lot like a Sasquatch and is screwing with us, but
Yeah.
we have the park to ourselves because it was after hours. Or I mean, the other option, it's just
Yeah.
so I've never seen one, but I've heard. I think I really feel like I've heard like audio evidence of it, like live
Yeah.
action.
It's really cool this came up right now too, because before the show tonight, so I'm actually traveling right now for work.
Okay,
Which is why my background is not my Superman background I normally
I
have.
gotcha.
Because normally I have a wall of Superman behind me. But
Yeah, I'm
uh
working on the Star Wars wall. I got the Millennium Falcon and a map of Tatooine behind me. So
nice. Yeah, mine are all a bunch of tins of Superman, and I actually have like little
nice.
figurines and stuff like that up there as well. But
Yeah,
I was actually watching History Channel of all things,
yeah.
and they were talking about the origin of where the name Bigfoot came from, and they're
Mhm.
talking about how it came from Mount Shasta up in Northern
Yeah.
California, and they just started talking about all that. Well, I'm from Northern California, so that
Oh,
was
okay.
pretty interesting.
Yeah,
That's where the because I didn't know the origin of it, of the name or anything like that. I know there's been a lot of sightings up there and stuff like that, but
yeah,
I never knew that was the origin of the name. Is that from my neck of the woods? So that was pretty
yeah.
interesting. Uh,
Well, it's
she said,
interesting because I was watching. I think it was the Unexplained, which is that series on Netflix, and it's probably on other stuff, but I think it's on
Yeah,
Netflix mostly.
yep.
And they did. I just literally last night watched an episode that was all about Bigfoot, and they talked about the guy who found the first and like made the first casting in California,
Yep.
the one that you're talking about. And then the first guy they talked to was the guy who was investigating in Kent, Ohio. And it's a dude that I
Yeah,
actually found out I know. Like I was like, holy shit. I never
I
knew
know
this
that guy.
episode
Yeah.
existed. Yeah. I'm like, I've talked to the guy. He's the guy who was leading our walk, our Bigfoot walk. And I'm like,
Oh,
holy shit, that's so crazy. So, anyways,
yeah.
it was a weird connection.
Yeah. Just says
Like,
I'm surprised no redneck has ever shot a Bigfoot. Who's to say they haven't?
dude,
So,
that's
you
the
know,
thing. It's like that's the 20%. Like, why would we not found like physical evidence at all
well,
of these creatures?
how many times have we found bare bones in the woods? Like a grizzly
Good
or something
call.
like that.
Good
So,
call.
and
Yeah.
if you talk to some of the folks that we both know, like Jessica,
Yeah.
the cryptid huntress and stuff like that,
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk about the fact that we don't see them is because they pass through interdimensional portals because they're
Yeah.
actually not of this earth. So if they do pass away, they pass away from wherever they're from or whatever
Yeah.
else. So we don't see the
Okay.
evidence of them, or they're just passing through. Um,
And Nicole
Nikki
just
was
actually said what you're talking about.
Yep, she was just typing. Tom has a theory: Bigfoot multidimensional is so they create a portal to disappear. Good call,
Yeah.
Nick. So yes, and this is a belief that I have too. Um, that is literally what happens because my thought process is yes, I believe that Bigfoot is nothing more than another form of an alien from another location, but they
Yeah.
multiport into where we
Yeah.
live, and it's either like a passing area to where portal to portal is, which is why there's certain locations, and it's not just
Okay.
world. I mean, it's
Yeah.
worldwide, but it's like not downtown New York. It's
Yeah.
like um, and that's my belief there is that
Yeah.
I believe that they are a very intelligent life form and that's why we're not
Right.
capturing them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, to me,
take
the
that for what it
ninety
is,
percent,
but
the 90% is basically this creature is seen in different versions worldwide,
right,
and there's accounts going back to cave drawings on Native
yeah,
American, even before that. Of just the myth and legend is so deep and so old, and so it just there's got to be something to it. I mean,
yeah,
It's not like
Well,
the chupacabra was something that actually came up in like the late 40s or something like that. I can't
yeah,
remember the date. Stuff
yeah,
like that is like, and
it was
especially now, like things like the Thin Man and all that shit is
right.
like, shit that's social media. Somebody tells a story and somehow it just,
All of a sudden it becomes legend. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting because I was actually talking to the audience before you got on here, and this ties in really well with what I was talking about because we're talking about Bigfoot, multidimensional, and everything else. And I was
yeah,
explaining to people because I can actually see, talk to, and hear elementals just like I am you right now.
yeah.
This is how they appear to me,
Okay.
like they're standing right in front of me, and I can have a
Oh, wow.
conversation with them. But around the world, they look differently. Not all earth elementals are these large boulder-like creatures. It depends
Right.
on what earth is around them
Hmm.
determines what kind of earth elemental they're going to look like.
Oh, wow.
Um, because the so one of the Hobbits series, the movies for people who have watched them, when you watch the trees walking through, the live trees walking throughs, those literally do have somewhat of an appearance of what some earth elementals look like because they're in the forest. Whereas
Oh,
large open boulder areas, they look like the large boulders.
okay.
And it really does base off of what land they are at that point because elementals don't travel across the world. They live
Right.
in their area.
Right.
Uh, and so they really do have that buildup of, I mean, it's just like us. I mean, if you look at our ethnicities, we all look
Yeah.
like our ethnicities we grew up in for the most
Right.
part. Well, that's
Right.
no different. But I also think that I believe elementals are environmental. I don't think they're multidimensional. I actually think they're
Okay.
of this earth, but I think they can
Gotcha.
travel through dimensions
Okay.
like Bigfoots can.
Yeah.
And I think Bigfoot is actual alien, whereas elementals are not. But they all kind of follow the same path. They all look different. They
Yeah.
all come from different areas and everything else, which is why I think they all kind of tie together. So
So Chewbacca is actually more on akin to what you're
yes,
feeling.
exactly.
No, I've read and
Yeah.
I've heard and I've seen this in documentaries, and it's a very interesting. It's something that I tend to believe too. I've also the only other theory that caught me off guard and I found very interesting was actually we had Dustin Pari on our show, and
Yeah.
he was talking about we got into the Bigfoot discussion, and I'm like, well, what do you think? Why don't you think we see or why don't you think we see them more often? He's like, well, there's the people that believe in the multidimensional travelers.
Hmm.
They're not of this world. He's like, but there's also time dimensions.
Oh yeah,
There's time slips. He's like, what if for that 5 seconds that you see
dude. Do you
a
want to go there
Bigfoot?
with this guy? This is the nerdy guy that preaches
Yeah.
that stuff.
So
So
basically, he's like, you're seeing us as we were, God knows how many years ago at that one moment where there's like a time slip and we can see each other through like this, like an unseeable glass. Like
yep.
we're seeing time. We're seeing the past basically in our own time.
Nikki's warning you, don't get him started because and I make it very simple. I make it very simple when I explain this because otherwise I will nerd out and people will just glaze
Yeah.
over and go, what? Because I'll use like really long words and really long sentences. But
Yeah.
I give instances that I believe that time slips happen because you see images of, let's say, for instance, you had that image of back in the
Mhm.
1950s, but you see someone standing there with a cell phone. And everyone's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that's cropped in, that's fake. Why?
Right.
Why was that? Because our time streams travel minutely close
Yeah.
together. I mean, just oh my goodness. And if they
Yeah.
overlap, that glitch happens. And what happens
Yeah.
if that picture of that guy standing there with the cell phone happened to
Yeah.
overlap that time stream and that picture just happened to get taken right there?
Yeah.
And that's how I try to
Just
explain to people
everybody,
with
if you want to like watch a show that's entertaining, it's like not, it's a fiction show, but it's kind of like what we're talking about, the Umbrella Academy.
oh yeah,
It's all in there.
yeah.
It's time
Nikki
glitches
and
and
I actually watched the
paradoxes
Umbrella
and
Academy, so it was
yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Jeff is asking, have you guys seen Chad Kalick's documentary Two-Face the Gray? I
I've
haven't.
not seen one. I've seen the one that he brought came out with. It's Sir No Face, which was he was investigating a piece of evidence that somebody had presented with a team of theirs at some convention that he was a special guest at. But yeah, I've not seen that particular one.
Yeah, I haven't either. So I know I've heard of it. Um, but I that's one that we just haven't sat down to watch.
Yeah,
So
I'm kind of behind on my documentaries, to be honest with you.
oh, so Jess says watch the second one. It's tied together. So
Oh, okay,
telling you. So
all
watch
right.
the second one. It's tied together.
Oh, cool,
So
because I really enjoyed Sir No Face, so that's awesome.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I know I'm just kind of watching. Everyone's hey, he said it's on YouTube.
No, I did. Okay,
So
cool.
yeah. Yeah, everyone's talking about they love the Umbrella Academy. They watch it, and Maureen Mo, which is my neighbor across the street, when I'm at home, we just went through a whole. I was asking her, "Hey, have you seen this movie? Have you seen this movie?" She's like, "No, I haven't seen any of these." I'm like, "We need to watch this." So that's why she's saying I'll add this to my list.
Oh,
So
cool, awesome. Yeah, you gotta watch it if you're a
right?
comic book nerd, because it's kind of cut based off the comic book. But
Yeah,
yeah, you gotta watch it.
yeah,
It's entertaining.
yeah. Rosie says, "I got a split second. I seen a little girl with black hair smiling. Wonder if it was a time lapse. It very well could be.
Good. Yeah.
There's so many of them that happen, and some I will let you know. This is really weird, but not all time lapse or multi-dimensional lapse only last for a split second. Some can last for minutes.
Yeah.
It's amazing
Oh
because
yeah.
there's information out there about where a lady will, and there's a lot of these, not just her, but the one I'm going to share is where she was driving home down the road, and she always knew she had to go through this one town before she got back onto like the main road and came
Uh-huh.
out to where she was living at. Well, when she entered the town, she noticed something was very different about it. Everything looked exactly the same, but when she started looking at the people were not people anymore. They were creatures.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and they did not look like us, but it was her town just in another dimension. And they actually like realized that she could see them, so they went after her. And once she
Yeah.
hit, like, so basically the road starts in town, like most towns do, with one type of concrete, and end with another. Because now you're on state roads, and when she hit the other side of the concrete, she was back into our time loop or our dimension.
Oh wow.
And so when she got home, she was worried that when she got home that she was going to have these parents that didn't look like her parents at all. But
Yeah.
but when she drove back through, she was very hesitant to go back through. But that's the only way
Yeah.
in and out. When she drove back through, everything else was normal. So during that, she said it was about a 6 minute period that she had to drive through this town where she had that slip, I'm chalking it up to a multi-dimensional slip, of what she
Okay.
drove through. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
documentation out there. If you look at those, about 10 of them
Yeah.
that they actually did a documentary on altogether. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. I'll
Yeah.
definitely be looking into that too. I'm always looking into that. So if
Yeah.
I hear something new or
I'm a big old nerd. So this is the kind of stuff that Nikki doesn't
yes.
Nikki doesn't mind if I do these shows, like the nerd shows, but she just knows
Yeah.
that it's really interesting, but she's just gonna glaze over some of it. So Nikki wants to know, I've asked this question, can spirits we hurt in places be from different timelines or dimensions? Oh, that we hunt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that we hunt in places be from different timelines or dimensions.
I mean, if you just look at what we would call a residual haunt, I mean, I would think that's just somebody playing one moment in time over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, that's technically a timeline, and that's not ours.
Right.
I don't really know because that's what the hardest part of investigating is figuring out, like, is this spirit that I'm having conversation with, is he seeing what I'm seeing?
Right.
Is he
Right.
still where he was? Like, does everything look like what it is when he passed away?
Yeah.
Is he, it's really hard, but I definitely think, yeah, I mean,
So
obviously, I mean, that's a lot of people believe that's like where you see shadow people is like a multi-dimensional or like a time slip type of thing. Um, you know, it's just so many rabbit holes.
so let's hurt your brain one more step, Goose. Ready for this one?
Yeah.
If we
Whew.
are if we are um
get a
if we are
massage.
being visited or we are, what she says, hunting
Yeah.
spirits, can they be from a future timeline in another dimension, but in our timeline now? So can it be from the future if it's in another dimension that we're seeing them in, and then we'll see them later on in our own dimension down the road? So is that a kind of a deja vu moment that we're developing there?
See, I was in like thinking about like I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, I was getting it, but I'm like, I don't know if that's really a thing. But then you said deja vu, and then I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
has it happened already once, but now we're just catching up to it, and it's happening again,
yeah,
like in this dimension or something else. But we recognize it's happened. We're like, oh, I have done this before. This is
yeah.
I've already lived this moment. So as Yogi
Oh
Berra
my
says,
gosh,
it's deja vu all over again. So
yeah.
so yeah, that's just enough to add more to the
I
brain
was,
thought there. So
yeah, I was laughing at Rosie's comment. She's got us
oh yeah, now she's got to Google all
Google
this.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome,
No, I mean,
Rosie.
I
So
believe like if you believe in the paranormal, you should believe in anything that could happen. It will
right,
happen if it's gonna
right.
happen. It's
And the hardest
and
part to do, I
that's
mean, a lot of the paranormal we can debunk, but stuff like
yeah,
this, that's the hardest stuff to debunk, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
No, I mean, time is a weird thing. Dimensions are a weird thing. We know they exist,
right,
and we know nothing is lateral. I mean,
right.
it's it's got its spikes and it's changing constantly, and it's the butterfly effect. If I go back in time and change, if I decide not to wear socks, that's gonna like something's
What
gonna
is that?
happen like through the whole timeline. You know what I mean?
So and you know what? You know a perfect example is this. Also, is if anyone is watching Loki right now.
Yeah.
Loki's a
I
perfect
was gonna.
example of
That's what I
this.
was trying to say without saying, but
No, just say it.
what-
Just say
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. No, it's
Loki's a
definitely
perfect example of how timelines branch off into different timelines, but they can
yeah.
be what you could have been or what you might be in the future
Mhm.
type of thing, and they break off into different branches. So if no
Yeah.
one's ever watching, if you're not watching Loki, it is based off the Avenger character Loki, and
Mhm.
we're into season 2 now, and it really goes deep into that kind of
Yeah.
multi-dimensional task right now.
It can be very
So
confusing. It can be
yeah,
very confusing, but I've actually had to watch season one over again so I could like refresh on what the hell was going on with season
right,
two.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Well, I think we're probably at a good stopping point. What do you think, Goose?
I mean, I could go on for hours, but yeah,
Oh,
probably.
yeah,
I should probably talk
yeah.
to my
Well,
family at some point tonight.
so the good news is I'm going to ask you on again at a later date to come back
Absolutely.
on and have us just BS and talk to everybody else. So if you're cool with that,
Yeah,
and
absolutely,
I'm seeing
man.
the comments pop up too, so I'm reading them as we go along too. But
Yeah.
if you're cool with that, then we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll
All
schedule
right.
you. I'll talk to you. Do me a favor, don't run away.
Okay.
I'm just going to put you backstage so we can talk afterwards for a
Yeah.
couple minutes.
All right.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
hey, everyone, say goodnight to the Goose. Bye, Goose. But I really appreciate you coming on. Um,
Absolutely, man. Thank
and
you.
I will. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in you tonight, though. I have not heard your tagline once.
Shut
So
up.
there you go.
Guys, if I tell you to shut up or if I respond to any posts that you put on social media, shut up, that just means Goose loves you. All right.
Right.
That's all
That's
it
all
is.
that is. It's a term of endearment. So,
Right.
um,
Oh,
yeah. So I appreciate it again. I'm gonna throw you backstage, shut your show
okay.
down, and I'll be back to see you in a couple of minutes. Thanks, brother. All right, folks, that's the show. Thank you again so much for being a part of the show. As you all know, my audience is my family. I appreciate you all for coming on. Very good information tonight from the Goose. Appreciate him coming on, and you guys are fantastic at asking questions and making comments as always. I love what you guys do. Let me look because again, you all know me. I got to pull up my handy dandy phone to see who's going to be on next week because I'm too dumb to remember right away. So let me jump into here really quick. Let's see. I have on Tanya Marie next week. Fantastic. I have on another one. I mean, I don't have bad guests, as you can see, but Tanya Marie's coming on my show. You'll absolutely love her. She's a fan favorite for a lot of people because she's been on once before. Um, Same time, same bat channel next week, 7 p.m. I will not be traveling, so I will have all the Superman stuff behind me instead of this very brown, oaky looking stuff behind me in the hotel I'm in right now. But again, thank you for coming on. Much love. Stay safe this week. Enjoy yourselves. I know a lot of people getting bad weather. Watch out for the weather. Um, but please do me a favor, like, share, follow. I'd love to keep get this audience growing, this community growing, because I think it does help a lot of people because they get to hear great stories, but they also get to learn so much that can possibly help them in the future. So um, appreciate y'all. Stay safe, and we will talk to you soon.